Welcome to the study from home by Jagasar, class 12. Today I will start a new chapter, a short story, and the third story of your text book named Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes. You all know about Langston Hughes, who was a really great short story writer, a great playwright, and also a great journalist. And in his early part, he was known to be a great poet, and this particular short story is written in the background of the social injustice. You all know that in our society how we deal with the persons belonging to the poor society, belonging to the backwarded society, and this particular theme is well established, is well dealt, or better to say it is well woven by the effective and narrative style of Langston Hughes. This story, in a sentence, is called a journey from the wrong path to the right path. You all know that in our society we see several youngsters who are either by own self or driven by the circumstances. Sometimes they like to follow the wrong track in their life. We all know about them, but what we generally do with them or for them, we do nothing. But we just criticize them, we just blame them, we just ignore them for their misbehavior or for their wrongdoings. But we never ever try to change them or to correct them. But this particular short story, or the main one of the main characters of this short story, named Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones, who really played an important role to correct this kind of wrongdoings boy in his teenage. Actually, we all know that sometimes the teenagers, like here in this beautiful short story, or one of the best characters of this particular short story, named Roger, is somehow mistracked, misguided, or he followed the wrong track to achieve his own ambition, to achieve his own demands. But there was no one to correct him, there was no one to realize him that he was actually following the track of bad things or wrongdoings. No one was there. Even if there was someone, there was no one to guide him or to stop him or to realize him that he was doing something bad, not only for him but also for the society. But here, with the beautiful presence of the character like Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones, or better to say Mrs. Jones, who actually played an important role, a motherly affection, a motherly character, who really guided Roger, a teenager, to follow the right track from the wrong track through a beautiful incident. Actually, the incident is just presented here to build up the story. But the right thing or the theme of this particular short story is to show the right way those who are misguided, those who are actually following the bad tracks, to show them the right track, to bring them to the right track again. It is our duty, but we sometimes forget, but we just only blame them, we just only ignore them. This is not also right. That is practically, that is narratively well established and well dealt in this beautiful short story named Thank You Ma'am. Before beginning the short story, I want to say something about the background. You all know that the story writer Langston Hughes, who was better known as for the movement in support of the blackies. Recently in America, there the incident, the torture against the blackish people, that has been increasing, or that has been actually in the news. At that time when this particular short story was written, that time also American society was in support of racism. That means they were mainly in against of the blackish people. And the main theme or the supporting matter by Langston Hughes is the black is beautiful. This particular short story also carries an inner meaning or message that if we see someone doing wrong thing, we must go forward to them. We must make them to realize that they are really doing something bad, not only for them but also for the society. If we face them, if we make them to realize, definitely we will be able to change them, not by force but by changing the inner feeling. Actually, the trust and understanding that can change many things. This conception or this feeling has been well established or well dealt, well written, well felt in this particular short story, in the art of or in the act of or through the act of Mrs. Jones. The main two characters of this short story are Mrs. Jones and Roger. Mrs. Jones is an old lady but very stout and very confident about herself. She is employed in a beauty shop, hotel beauty shop, and she was supposed to returning from her duty place at 11 o'clock at night. She was all alone, and the atmosphere, the situation, or the time was quite unfavorable. And during that time, a boy named Roger was following her, and somehow his intention was to snatch the parts of Mrs. Jones away and to buy a blue suit jeans for him or blue suit shoes for him. Actually, he was misguided, and by following Mrs. Jones, somehow the boy just snatched the parts from Mrs. Jones with a strong pulling, but he was unable to do so, and he fell down. And at that time, he was caught by Mrs. Jones. What happened then? Mrs. Jones very roughly caught him and brought him to her house. Here the story actually turns into a surprising corner. At the very beginning, when Roger was following him, it was his expectation. But here, when he was caught and brought to Mrs. Jones' house or room, he got something different that we, the readers, never expected. What he got? He got everything that he had. Actually, Mrs. Jones realized that it was not Roger's fault. It was not this particular teenager's fault that he was following the wrong track, and that's why she provided everything that Roger needed. Roger needed food. Roger needed good behavior. Roger needed sympathy. Whatever Roger needed, Mrs. Jones silently and surely provided everything. And that built up a relationship, that built up a mutual understanding, that built up a trust to each other. And even Mrs. Jones did not just make him to realize with her own words, but the acting, but the way she was behaving, but the way she was telling, but the way she was watching on him, it all was very effective one. Within just some minutes, Roger just changed from a wrongdoers to a right doers. That means he realized his own mistake, not by any force, but only by the motherly affection, the trust, understanding. Everything that Roger needed was provided by Mrs. Jones, and that helped Roger to change not from the outside but from internal changes that we observe. And at the very end, what we see? At the very end, we see Roger out of his realization, out of his internal changes. He wanted to say thank you, ma'am, to Mrs. Jones because of his self realization, but he did not know how to show his courtesy, and that really showed that if we do something good for the others, definitely we can get back the same thing in no time. And that happened to the life of Mrs. Jones and Roger. Here the beautiful story ends. Really it is a short story, so we can never get back all the answer that we look for. Definitely, many answers remain unanswered. Still, the story or the theme really taught us that if we do good with the even with the wrongdoers, accepting we criticize, accepting with just blame or ignore them, if we do something good for them, definitely they will be they will definitely be changed with their own heart. That means the conscience, the internal mind, everything is depending on our behavior. If we behave with the others, if we come with the others very easily, very happily, definitely that will be effective to the other ones like Roger. In this very beautiful story that happens, and that is the clear and really precise message sent by Langston Hughes, who was himself a great leader in support of the people of especially the blackish people, and according to him black is beautiful. That was the his motto, and here his motto is to say that if we do good for the people who are following the wrong track, definitely they will be enough to realize of their own, and they will follow the right track, leaving the wrong track. And not by any outer force can change anything, but our natural behavior, our trust, understanding, everything, or even our sympathy, feelings, everything can change a person from a demon to a good one. Like the Roger, who was before known as a snatcher at the very beginning, but with the progression of the story we find him a changed one, and we the readers remain the witness how he changed, and and how did Mrs. Roger change him from wrongdoers to a right doers. That is all about the short story. I think everyone will be happy to know that we are able to understand a good short story, not following our syllabus but following in our regular life. I hope so.